I'm tweeting it out.
Hello, everyone. Surprise. We were not planning on doing this, but we have about an hour before the podcast begins, or before the podcast. See, this is how tired I am today. Before the draft begins. And so we decided we're going to go ahead and go live. So we're going to give it a minute, see if we can get a couple of people to come on and join us. Sonia is right now tweeting it out so that we can chit chat about the draft. As many of you have seen, Kate and I are in Detroit. We are in the media room with people, all the media from all over the country. Yeah, Kate's giving you a little tour. It's a little quieter tonight. Last night it was a little chaotic. And please forgive the fact that I am blown out by lights because the Washington Commanders team is right here and they have every light on the planet. It looks so bright. So anyway, yes, yeah, Kate's gonna show you like all the light back there in that corner. It's crazy. So it is rather funny. Oh, you went too far.
I just tweeted it out.
Thank you. I know it looks like we have a couple people joining us. I'm super excited about that. Hello, Stephen. Yes, we are live. So anyway, welcome everyone once again. Our Football Podcast. We are hopping on for a few minutes before the draft starts tonight. Sonia, round one was a little different than I thought it was going to go. I'm not going to lie. I thought that there would be trades every 5 minutes and all this stuff. And so that was surprising that there weren't as many as I thought there was going to be. And yet at the same time, the picks obviously shocked the crap out of us. You watched the draft last night. You know how it went. What was your overall impression?
Overall, it was pretty good, but I think just like everybody, the Michael Penix pick just shocked me. And it was actually kind of funny because I was watching with the girls and they were really excited to see JJ get picked. And so my daughter was on the phone with her friend and she's like, JJ could come to Atlanta. And I was like, guys, no. JJ's not coming to Atlanta. They just signed Kirk Cousins. They're not. I was like, like Lisa says, if you get a quarterback in the first round, you're going to want them to play. And then I said, but they could bring somebody in, have them learn, but that would be like later on down the line. And lo and behold, here comes Michael Penix. And I was like, shut the noise. That was a big surprise. And I think I kind of get the vision, basically back up for Cousins, but you've got to do something with him like now-ish, right? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing.
Kate and I had quite the conversation about this after it happened last night, and then again today at the baseball game that we went to. Go Royals! Who kicked the crap out of the Detroit Tigers. It was awesome, but it was confusing. First of all, and right. Second of all, it was such a Falcons thing to do. Kate, you said. I pointed this way because Kate's literally sitting right here. So, Kate, you said something today that I thought that was really interesting to me. And you said that Michael Penix was the biggest story of round one, but it wasn't because of the player. It was because of the team. That was really interesting to me. Kate's muted.
So I really like Michael Penix Jr. I wish him nothing but the best. It should have been his night to be so excited that he's going to be a professional football player for a team in the NFL. My problem is when you're a team like the Falcons and you have so many things that you need and you just spent big money on Kirk Cousins, the questionability of the decision to get a quarterback makes that the story. It's like, what were they thinking? How can they justify what they did? Why? Like, I get if you're the Eagles or the Chiefs or a team that's in the playoffs and going to the Super Bowl and you're thinking long term, I'm going to need another quarterback soon. I'm going to get one, as opposed to the Falcons who had to fire their head coach, who haven't had a winning season, basically haven't done well since the year they got blown out in the Super Bowl in the second half. We actually saw the cutest little old grandma with that shirt on today. We was dying with that New England Atlanta score on it, right? And I'm like, those kind of things are not going to go away when your front office takes a quarterback in the first round when you need everything else on that team.
It was a really good point, and I agreed completely because, again, there were a lot of people that thought Michael Penix had first round, draftability, that he had the first round talent, but it was the team. It's not the player. It's the team. It's so strange to me. But that wasn't the only thing that went on.
And the ability, as Lisa would say, if you draft a quarterback in the first round, for them to start this year. How do you do that when you just spent so much money on Kirk Cousins? Like if Kirk was still in Minnesota and you're taking him in Minnesota to maybe replace Kirk, I get that. That makes sense to me. But you don't spend that kind of money that you just spent. Well, you do if you want to show people why your team is the mess that it is right now. When you look at the Falcons and then you go across this country and you look at the Texans and what they were able to do by making really good decisions in just 2 years, for me, that's like from one spectrum to the other of NFL ownership in where we're at now.
It is really true. But let's go with that theme for just a minute, because Sonia, I want to know. So record-breaking 6 quarterbacks, just shy of Emery's prediction of 7. I was so good for you, dude. I was so impressed. 5 in the top 10. We talk about Lisa's big predictor is that she's like, if you take a quarterback in the first round, you have to start them. Are all 6 of these guys starter material? I don't see it. I mean, maybe Caleb. Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to surprise, and I think he's going to play actually really well and probably outplay Williams, to be honest with you. But JJ, Drake, all of these kids, they're in for it. I don't know that they're up for it. Sonia, what do you think about all those?
I agree. I think Caleb, I'm sorry, and I think Jaden, match their names. I think they are probably going to be the most ready, and I think that they probably, maybe not Caleb, but Jaden, I think, definitely has a good team who knows what is going on and what he needs around him. So I really like that pick for them, and I think that that's going to be good. Caleb, the verdict is out. And honestly, he's talented, but is he talented enough to kind of overcome the Chicago Bears coaching staff? And that's really the biggest thing. Drake May, I don't know. I mean, that truly is kind of a wild card because he's going to a brand new New England team that's looking for their guy. And it's a lot. It's going to be a lot. And is he up for it? I don't know. And these are Patriots fans that are used to winning, sort of, and they want that. They want to get back on their thing. So I think that's hard. I also think that JJ has shown that he can win, but
Right.
I think that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard in that division. I think it's going to be real hard in that division. And
Yeah.
who's our last
And
one?
then the
Who am I
Michael
thinking?
Penix. Michael Penix.
Yeah, Michael Penix.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah.
yeah. So in chat, so I want to talk to anyone who is watching over on Twitter or over on Facebook. Come on over to the YouTube channel and join our live chat because we want to hear your opinions. That's the point of this show, is we want to know what you think about the first round. So interesting. We do have a couple of comments. Sorry, those Commanders guys are so loud. You have no idea. Your background for them, it's the Commanders. They're crazy. But Camden says, Dana, only 2 are starter material. She and Lisa are locked up on this. They completely agree. Absolutely. And then Steven says, Cousin is going to teach this young QB because Cousins won't be healthy the whole year. And that is interesting. So that is one of the conversations that they've been having on the networks too, is that, how many of these good quarterbacks, and they brought up Phillip Rivers. There was a couple of them who didn't play their first year as a starter. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, you have to think about that too. But do we think that'll happen? He might. Kirk is older, $100 million guaranteed. But that, I think that he's a little more sturdy than people are giving him necessarily credit for. But I guess if something should happen, you have him there. I just don't know if he'll be NFL ready. It's baffling to me. It's a little strange. So, all right. So let's move on. Some of the other ones. Kate, I know, looked up all the different trades. I said that I thought there would be a lot more than there were. But there still was quite a handful, wasn't there, Kate?
Yeah, but I was surprised that it took us until pick 10 to get the first trade. I thought the Cardinals with having multiple picks might trade out of 4. Chargers, I thought there might be some movement up there. We didn't get our first trade until 10, and then it was just a flip, right? The Vikings and Jets flipped spots so that the Vikings could take J.J. McCarthy, and the Jets took Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle from Penn State. Love him. Love him for the Jets. They wisely got someone to help protect Aaron Rodgers, and I think when I look at the top 10, I think most of them, I would say 7 of them can start in their first season. It's the quarterbacks. It's Drake May really needs a little more time in New England, so hopefully Jacoby Brissett will be healthy and he can take a little bit of time. And then Michael Penix in Atlanta. But I think we'll see what happens with JJ in Minnesota. Sonia, you believe in him a little bit more than I do, but that's partly my Buckeye bias. I'm not going to lie. It is what it is. If you can run the ball, he'll be fine. I don't know if the Vikings are going to be able to run the ball. So that's where that comes from. Then the Vikings were involved in a trade again at 17 and 23, swapped with the Jaguars, moved back up. So they moved up 1 spot, and then they moved up like 5 spots and took one of my favorite defensive players in the draft, Dallas Turner. He was someone Lisa and I both thought would be the first defensive player off the board. So he will do really well for the Vikings. And then the Jaguars moved down and got wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr., which I think was a good move for them. And he was, I think, the player they wanted at 17. And the fact that he was still sitting there at 23, made them both very happy with the trade. Sonia, your Lions moved up from 29 to 24, swapped spots with the Dallas Cowboys, got Terrion Arnold. We got to interview him last night. He's got a song that's coming out. We tweeted it. He is a very interesting young man. I think you guys are going to like him in Detroit. I didn't get to ask him a question. I was going to ask him, when you were making your travel arrangements to come here, did you know you were just going to stay? Because a lot of them come here and they sit in the green room. And then as soon as they're done with us, they're like on a jet going to wherever the team is that they're going to play for. And dude was like, I don't even have to pack up my suitcase. I'm still here, So I thought that was pretty interesting. The Cowboys taking Tyler Guyton, I thought was interesting, not in a good way. He wasn't my favorite pick for him of the players that were available then. We may have to talk to Michelle next week and find out what she thinks of that choice for them. And then there was sort of a jumble at the bottom with the Chiefs. The Bills moved a couple times. They moved up, they moved down. Chiefs moved up to 28. Bills moved down to 32. And then the Bills traded that pick to the Panthers and moved to like 33. So the Chiefs took Xavier Worthy, which is another pick that I think we should talk wide receivers in general. And I'm going to leave my thoughts about that young man until we talk about that. But then the Panthers took Xavier Leggett, who I love for him. He is a very, very different wide receiver than Worthy. I think he's twice his size. And he was one of my favorite wide receivers that I spoke to at the Combine. So I think the Panthers are going to be very happy with that one. So we had, 1, 2, 3, 4 big trades, but not the teams that I thought would be involved in trades. And I definitely did not think we'd get through almost to the top 10 before we started seeing some action.
I mean, we really did hear about that, right? We kept hearing, the Patriots are trying to get out of their pick. We hear Arizona's trying to get out of their pick. And it was all week long. And again, lesson learned, as we need every single year. Once again, we don't know crap, right? We don't know what's going to happen on draft day. But the interesting thing about it was these teams that did stick, who they stuck for. Now, the Patriots getting a quarterback, that's not surprising, right? Like, that makes total sense. Arizona, I think that the minute they saw those quarterbacks go, they're like, we are not going to miss on Marvin Harrison Jr. We're not going to do it, right? And so they had to take him. I will say, I was a little snarky last night. Sonia, you won't believe that I was snarky, right? I'm always so sweet. But I was a little snarky last night. Because I'm like, look at that. They just drafted the wide receiver who might actually finally get Kyler Murray fired. Like, honest to God. Because, he's so good. He's like so good. I think that this will be like, we can't keep saying Kyler doesn't have weapons anymore because he does, right? So that could be really interesting. But let's talk about those wide receivers for a minute. I do want to talk about your pick with the Lions, though. So, yeah, he's a crack up. I will say, let's just start there. I will say when he was our last interview of the night. He was the last one to come in. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And so we were just waiting, and he came in just a spitfire. This kid reminds me so much, not in play in any way, shape, or form necessarily, but in attitude of Richard Sherman so much. He comes in, he's like funny and engaging, but has a huge ego and a huge chip on his shoulder. Like he is ready to prove everybody wrong. He's ready to show everybody what he can do. But he also wants us to know he's got a song out on YouTube. You go to Tyrion Arnold on YouTube, you'll listen to his song. And oh my God, I enjoyed him very, very much. Personality galore, which I think is the perfect fit for the Lions. Sonia, how happy were you about that?
I was very happy. I'm gonna be 1,000% honest. I thought we were going to trade out of the first round for whatever reason, because that's just what Brad Holmes does. I was expecting a trade, and I was expecting a trade out for somebody, but to trade and get Terrion was it was perfect. It was Brad Holmes-ish, and I think that he hit it out of the park with that one. Our defense does need some shoring up, as evidenced by the Niners game last year, but I think that was a very home run pick, and I love him, and I'm so glad that he's with us. And it's one of those things that you think, maybe, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I should have held my breath, but because we did. So I'm super excited about that. I'm also super excited because there's talent now coming to the AFC North or NFC North, and he's going to be big and huge in making Detroit that run again back at the division. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for him. And
Absolutely, I was too.
if John was excited, then we really must have done something right.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a good talent. So we can talk about. Let's go back to the wide receivers just a little bit. So obviously we have Marvin Harrison Jr., who calm, cool, and collected is that kid's name. Let me tell you, he was just up there being a professional. It was so good. But Malik Neighbors, he was interesting pick, I thought, for the Giants. I thought, once again, kind of like Kyler Murray. Do we have to keep getting these pieces around Daniel Jones so we can stop blaming the fact that there's no pieces around Daniel Jones? Do you know what I mean? And so is he going to be there to get his quarterback fired? Or are they know what they have? They have Drew Lock. They don't even know if Daniel will start. They have Drew Lock, who's a decent quarterback. And so then they have these weapons in place so that if they have to go get a quarterback in the next couple of years, they already have these pieces for him. I thought that was really interesting. He was a real fun kid to talk to also. He was great. Sorry, I'm trying to find my list here of the other wide receivers that went. Let me see. So sorry. Our internet here sucks so bad. You guys have no idea. I just keep hitting the button.
I
You
got
have the list up. I know.
Yeah. So
okay.
The big three were Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, and then Rome Ajunze. And they were awesome.
Wait. Did you see what John said? The Giants take a wide receiver is like a Hawaiian bison. I'm sorry. That was hilarious. Okay, go ahead, Kate.
Well played, John. The three of them kind of bonded in the combine. They knew they were going to be the top three to go. There was in my mind, a big cutoff between Marvin and really everybody else. But I think all but one of the ones that went in the first round, I think are first round talent, and I have no issue with. Fun fact, I tweeted out today, 2 schools had their quarterback and their top wide receiver taken in the top 10 this year. LSU's quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and then wide receiver Malik Neighbors, and then Washington, Michael Penix Jr. and Rome Odunze. And that's the first time in NFL draft history that a school has had a quarterback and their wide receiver, both 2 of them, go in the top 10. Like, not even first round, top 10. And the Bears got 2 of them. The Bears got Caleb Williams and Rome. So the Bears got better, way better. I think the addition of the wide receiver of Rome made me feel better about the Bears draft, because I'm still I'm waiting to see how Caleb is as a team player and a franchise quarterback and a voice in the locker room and all that kind of stuff. So the addition of Rome was nice. Brian Thomas Jr. was one of my favorite wide receivers at the combine, as well as Xavier Legette. we're going to talk about Worthy. All right. Very nice young man, very speedy, ran a 4.21, set records, is a buck 60 dripping wet. And I have stood in the room with these gentlemen, and he does not have the frame to put the weight on that he needs to put on to be Calvin Johnson or Calvin Ridley or just to be a top tier NFL wide receiver. I just don't think he is physically able to get the weight on. He's going to have to do something. They're going to have to be very careful with him. I can see them starting him this year in situations where they use him as like a decoy, send him deep to kind of draw some defenders because like, oh, he's fast. They're going to go deep and, give the quarterback 4 seconds to let him go and then just go somewhere completely else. Or if you go to him, he better not have anyone near him because Dana will tell you what's going to happen to that young man the first time he gets hit by an NFL DB.
So we were talking about this, and I want to preface it with it's not like you can't have small wide receivers. I mean, Seattle has had Tyler Lockett; he's a team little thing, right? Like we get it, but it's how you use them and what the expectations. The interesting thing about Worthy is the fact that he's so fast. So you get the ball and he takes off like a rocket. That's amazing. But when I said he's going to get Cam canceled once, like there's going to be a brick wall at the end of whatever route he's on, he is going to get hammered. And then what you're going to see is what we've kind of seen out of Tyler over the last few years is you start to make those business decisions, right? You maybe don't go for the yards after the catch. You don't do things like that. Nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying for the way the Chiefs, because they have a bruiser, right? They have Travis Kelce, they have the bruiser, right? And so they needed the speed, especially, after Tyreek left. But I don't know that he's the guy. We're going to have to see how they use him. This is a team smart enough to use him properly. Let's not get confused. But at the same time, I just don't know how durable those smaller wide receivers are when you have NFL size safeties sitting back in that back end with that speed. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of works out. So we shall see.
Well, and people graded him above Brian Thomas Jr. because of his speed, and he didn't beat him by that much at the combine. And BTJ has like 40 pounds on him. Like he is so much closer to grown-up physical maturity size, and he's still so fast. I did the math and did the 40 time divided by their weight, and I'm like, they're both awesome. I'm sure they'll be fine, but I would have taken Thomas before Worthy 8 times in a row. Like I don't understand that part of it. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I'm at. I think they'll both be fine.
Okay.
If they're used right. So.
God, I love our comment section so much. You guys are the most fun. Tyler really got excited about real estate. You're not wrong. Camden, you are not wrong. And then this is a good point too that Stephen has. Wide receivers can go over the middle because defenses can't lay people out anymore. Yeah, but they can. You just have to do. You can't do hip drops. You can't do that stuff. So I don't know. I just said, a strong wind is going to knock this kid over. I'm being sarcastic, but he's going to have to figure out how to manage his size versus the size of the people that are around him. I think that's going to be interesting. I really love. Go ahead, Kate.
I was going to say, it's a good thing he's going to be with Kansas City because they have a very good coaching staff. Because we say this a lot with these kids, and especially quarterbacks. You can't change the quarterback to fit your scheme. You have to change your scheme to give that quarterback a chance to succeed and call plays that he will succeed in. And I think the Chiefs is a really good team when it comes to drawing up plays for Worthy that will be the good plays for him to be successful at. So it's a good thing he's not playing in, Cleveland. I'm not trying to say anything about it, but we don't do that well. So there are a lot of teams that I think would have not used him well. I think he'll be better because he'll be with the Chiefs.
One quarterback that we didn't talk about was Bo Nix and him going to Sean Payton. That he said that he had spent a lot of time with him and that he thought that was a really good spot for him. I don't wish Sean Payton on anybody. So good luck to you, kid from Oregon. Let's hope that he can do well there. Let's talk about some of these. We have a ton of offensive tackles, offensive linemen. We knew that they were going to go. We knew that they would be absolutely important. Fuaga obviously going at 14 was huge. Fashanu, I mean, going at 11 to the Jets. You have JC Latham, great kid, right? Yeah, going to Tennessee. But Joe Alt, talk about a huge human. Holy cow. And he was not here. But did you see that video? He stood up and his dad looked monstrous and he towered over his dad. That is a big board. That is going to be a huge, huge get for Evil Harbaugh. They need someone like that for Justin Herbert. So, what did you think about all these tackles, especially that one going to the Chargers? I just thought it was such a smart pick.
Very smart move. I think that people are really starting to buy into the fact that, yeah, you need a really good O-line in this NFL to protect your quarterback. And just like you said, it's he's a weapon. Our offensive line is our weapon, and that's truly what he believes. And I think that that's very good. So I like all the big linemen going, and I think that that is going to be integral to these teams trying to, make the moves to the next level, especially when you think of a team like Dallas. And I liked that. I mean, I know it wasn't the sexy pick, but they need it. They need that. They need some line work, and I think that that was a very smart, sensible move for somebody who says he's not going to pay his players just yet. So I think that was perfect.
We had 6 quarterbacks go and we had 6 offensive tackles go. When we talk about last year and all of the injuries and like the highest number of different starting quarterbacks that we've ever seen in the league, it was nice to see them balance out the number of quarterbacks that got drafted with the number of offensive tackles that are going to go protect the quarterbacks that played last year or some of the new ones that are coming into the league.
Exactly. Grand was
And
your
then
take.
finally, oh yeah, I wasn't going to put that up. Camden, I don't know that I can put that comment on the air, but I don't disagree. Okay, so obviously then we have Brock Bowers. I'm going to the Raiders. I was still a little surprised. Apparently the Raiders, the Seahawks, a couple of teams were trying to move up to get Penix. And I can see that. Although I would be shocked, I would have been shocked had Seattle actually taken him. But moving up, maybe I could see that. But the Raiders picking up Brock Bowers, that's huge for them. And I know the Raiders fans some were excited, some were. I think the kid is phenomenal. I think that that's going to be great. But then it took a minute. 15. Finally, we get a defensive team. Finally. I was totally, totally down. And we ended up with Latu. I'm going to tell you guys this. He was my favorite interview last night. This kid is a gem. First of all, super talented, but he fielded those questions, and there were a lot of them about his being medically retired from football, coming back like a pro. This kid is going to become a face of a franchise. He is fantastic. I'm a huge new fan. I am a huge new fan. He was absolutely amazing, and I think the Colts found a gem. Last year, my favorite interview was Anthony Richardson. Now they're both on the same team. There is just some fantastic and wonderful humans, which is funny because the owner's a little wackadoodle, but there's some great players going on there. And then Camden, I'm going to talk about it. So get ready to be excited. The Seattle Seahawks take Byron Murphy. There was a mock after mock after mock of them taking Arnold, and I'm like, really? I mean, we have great quarterbacks. Our quarterbacks be good to have another one, but really, no, that's not what we need. We need someone to crush the line, right? So I'm standing there literally filming Malik Neighbors' interview. The Seahawks pick is going here, and I'm like, and then it picked it, and I had to cover my mouth because I squeaked so loud. It was so dumb. It was so dumb. But I absolutely loved it. That's a perfect pick, exactly what Seattle needed. And then they started to go, right? You know how that goes in the draft. They start to kind of domino that way, right? And so then you had Murphy and then Dallas Turner, who the Vikings moved up to get. I liked the moves the Vikings made yesterday. I thought that they were good and solid for the team. I know that not everyone was Camden said it was her number one. Yeah, you, Brian, everybody, so many people wanted him so badly. It's so good. But then you had Troy Fautanu went in the Steelers. Perfect. He's going to be blocking for us. He's like, I think that's going to be so good. Chop Robinson. Then you had Mitchell, another great interview, by the way. And then you have Arnold. And so then you had that kind of run on the really good defensive players. So so we're at 34 minutes, guys. So we're probably going to hop off. We're going to hop on again later tonight as the second round comes on. And so hopefully everyone will be able to join us again. So if you look at this draft, which pick other than Penix, because I think that was a surprising one, were you most surprised by, or move up by a team, move down by a team, whatever it may be? And then which is your favorite pick other than the Lions pick?
Honestly, I was most surprised by the Bills. I was very surprised that they traded out of the first round. I thought that while they didn't need necessarily to draft a wide receiver, it would have definitely helped. I mean, they need a couple things, but I think that would have really helped. So I was super surprised by that. I'm wondering who they're targeting. I'm wondering what they're thinking. So that was my biggest surprise. Um, my other biggest surprise was, who was I most surprised by? Kind of the Giants. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that they took a wide receiver. Um, that kind of made me go, I mean, Daniel Jones, is that your guy? But okay, y'all need a lot. You need a lot. So there was that. Um, and then my favorite pick outside of the Lions, honestly, I'm gonna say Bo Nix to the Broncos because I think that yeah, that just made sense. I was like, yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I could
It's
see,
what they needed.
yeah, that's what they needed. And I don't think he kisses babies a lot, so I think it'll be okay.
Kate.
I think one of the things that surprised me is Spencer Rattler didn't go. I kind of thought Denver liked him, so when they took Bo, I thought it was a better choice. But I bought into the draft day poker stuff that they were looking at Rattler. Um, I don't. I wasn't surprised that the Vikings took JJ McCarthy. I just don't understand why they traded up one spot to do that. Because by taking him top 10, that's different money you got to pay him on a contract than in the next set, unless they were afraid the Jets were going to trade that pick to someone else, because the Jets weren't going to take him, right? But maybe they thought the Jets would trade to someone else who would take him. That one kind of puzzled me. And the only pick I will say I just rolled my eyes at, frankly, was the Raiders taking a tight end, Brock Bowers. I love Brock Bowers. I think he's amazing. But it just reminds me of every fantasy draft I'm in where people are taking running backs, and you have that one guy who takes Travis Kelce at like 5 or 6. And there's that one guy taking a tight end, and then we're all looking at him like, whatever. And that's just how it felt. Like the Raiders are playing fantasy football and not real football. I think the smartest pick of the entire draft of the first round was the Bears getting Rome, that wide receiver at 9. We've talked in the past about like Joe Burrow having to wait a year to get Chase, and some of these quarterbacks getting a whoopee, someone they can count on. Sorry, and Caleb and Robe are going to come up together, and they're going to develop that chemistry. Dana, talk now. I can't.
I will talk now. So interesting. I do agree. There was definitely some question marks. Camden made a good point in chat. Like the Raiders were trying to move up, so maybe that's why they decided they had to move up to grab JJ. Maybe someone else was trying to. I'm not sure, but so when I looked at it, I was real surprised by the Bills too. I think that the Bills they've been at the top of their mountain. I think they're starting to slide, and so why then would you be like? Except for they do have a lot of needs. So getting some of those extra picks is going to be really important to them. So they're like, you know what? Moving down a couple is not going to hurt us. Moving out of the first, that doesn't change much. Because we have to remember most teams don't have 32 first round grades on players. So, they thought they could wait a little bit on that one. I think I will tell you that I'm such a personality person. I know what goes on the tape, and I know that people like to look at the film and all of this, but I will tell you, other than Latu last night, who really won me over, I was so impressed with him. Darius Robinson is a freaking gem. And I loved this. He seems real excited to go to Arizona, but you could tell that he was a little perplexed by it. He kept saying, but I'm excited to go to AZ, like a bunch of times. But I will tell you, he's in the process of getting his master's in education. This kid is so excited and he wants to teach the youth and he wants to do this, he wants to do that. And he's going to be great for that team. I think Arizona found a real gem in him. And the funny thing is, he told the story, and I posted it on the Our Turf Twitter. So if you guys did not see it, go back and find it, where he was talking about at Mizzou, there's this wall of defensive, like kind of Hall of Fame. And he was like, I'm going to end up on that wall. He's like, so now I have to be really good so I can go back on the wall and go say that's all he cares about. So I thought that that was really cute. His legacy is important to him. So that was fun. But I will tell you that I really liked, I think my favorite pick and this hurts me. You guys know how much this will hurt me to say, is I really liked Joe going to the Chargers. I think that that is going to just change a huge tide for Justin Herbert, who I think has been sadly underdeveloped. And so I think that that will be very, very good. I think that that'll be good. All right, so the second round is coming up, you guys, here in just 20 minutes. Still some amazing names left out there. Johnny Newton is still sitting out there. Like, I am jacked about this, right? I think the Bills are going to find a great player when they pick it. First, they don't move back again. Maybe they're pulling a John Schneider this year and just going to keep moving back. God knows. But I think that there's some really good names. I think that the second round is going to go fast and furious because people know kind of what they're going to want at this point. We had a couple of questions in here. Camden want to know how many more quarterbacks we think are going to be drafted. Sonia, do you have any idea how many you think more will go?
I think like 4 or 5 more, at least.
Yeah,
I think that's
especially when you
fair.
get to those later rounds, you're going to get them picked up pretty quick, and then they're going to turn Joe Milton into a tight end. Don't get me started. Okay, and then the other one, Stephen wanted to know when the first linebacker, or was it? Yeah, when was it? I'm sorry, Camden asked it, and Stephen answered it too. When the first linebacker will come off the board? I think it'll be probably in the second round. I think that'll be kind of a little later in the second round. So I think that that'll be really interesting too. There seems to be a lot of talk again today about a lot of switching around. That happens in the second and third rounds quite a bit, so I think that won't be too big of a surprise. But all right, I guess that's our show for tonight. Well, for now, we're going to come on again later after we get on in a little bit. Sonia, are you going to be watching again tonight?
You'll be watching.
Awesome.
We'll be watching.
All right. Well, Kate and I will be here. Although we might cut out after the second round. We will. It's a lot of fun. We want to thank everyone. We can see all of you guys sitting out there chatting with us. I want to thank everyone who comes over to YouTube to talk with us. It would be just so much better if you all came over to chat with us. We love your opinions and thoughts. And we will probably see you guys in a couple hours. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.